In this tutorial, we're going to be talking about adding common cartridge elements to an itslearning course through the LTI tool in the Student Learning Experiences column. This is a demo course that is structured in comparison to the Reading 8 curriculum. What the teacher has done here has pulled out several pieces of the text for the students to quickly access from their itslearning course. So here I have the LTI integration of the common cartridge elements. So that is just those specific pieces of the student text that have been broken down into digital resources. We also have a link to the teacher edition of the same text. From this perspective, what we can see is that the teacher edition is actually placed in italics, and that's because it is actually deactivated for the student perspective. But since I'm looking here at the teacher, I can see it. So we can look at that again through going into the resources, and as we look at the resources, we wouldn't want the students to have access to the teacher edition, so that has been deactivated. When we look at this from the overview perspective, what this does is because we've set a date in the planner, so I'll flip back to the planner so that you can see that. Since a date has been associated with this particular lesson, Act 1, Scene 1, the date is there, which will then populate the overview page. What this does is it places all of the resources that the students are going to need right on the landing page of the course. Now I see the student edition or the teacher edition here because I am a teacher in this course. Students will not see the teacher edition. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip over and I'll show you what that looks like from the student perspective. So here I'm in the student view of the same course, and notice that I do not see that teacher edition here, but I do see those two pieces of the student version. So if I click on either one of those, it's going to instantly link me out to that particular piece of the collections text. And so here it's taken me directly to the reading of Diary of Anne Frank. And the same thing will happen if I go back to that planner or back to that course and I look at, if I want to go to the close read, it will again redirect me, pass me right through, and now I'm looking at just that close read portion. So now if we go back to the teacher perspective, we need to think about how did the teacher get these links into their planner, and then also think about other ways that students can access these resources in a more streamlined process. So I'm going to go back over into the planner. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk through the process of adding one of these in to our demo course so that you can see what it looks like. I'm going to go to add an activity, and then I'm going to say I want to add it from the library. When my search box comes up in the library, notice that it is wanting to filter my search based on the standards that are associated with the plan because I've already attached those standards to the plan. So if you want to open or broaden your search results, you can delete by clicking the X. So, and now I'm going to add in my search. So I'm going to say Diary of Anne Frank, search. And this piece might be something that I want to add to that particular lesson because I already have my teacher edition, I already have my close read, I already have my student edition. So now I'm going to select this one because I want to add this as something that my students are going to have access to. So when I select the title, notice that I can view the resource if I want to look at it from what the students will see, or if I already know that that's something that I want to add to my plan, I can say add to plan. I'll get a box that pops up that says that it has been added to the course and connected to the plan. I'll say OK, and I'll close my window and notice it has now been added as one of those student learning experiences. If I come back over to my student side of things and I've refreshed my page and jump back, oops, and notice that now there is that performance task that I just added. Now we need to consider maybe a more streamlined process for allowing the students to access all of these individual pieces of the student text or all of the different LTI elements rather than needing to select the link each time or coming back to the overview page to access these links. There might be a time where it is necessary that all they have to access is the student edition, and so we can just leave that link there. But there might be a time throughout an instructional approach where you're going to have them accessing multiple different LTI tools or multiple different resources that you want to have more in a fluid transition process. And one of the ways that we can do that is through the page. And so if I select the page and open the page for the lesson, notice that the student edition or the piece of the student text has already been linked into the page. So when I select that link, it's going to pass me right through to that same student edition that I accessed through that first LTI link on my overview page. So now we're going to flip over to the teacher perspective of how do we place that particular link into that page. So what I'm going to do is from my student learning experiences, if I want my students to, from my page, access the student edition, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hover over my link and I'm going to right click. When I right click, I have the ability to copy the link address. And what that's going to do is it's going to copy that address of what I'm sending my students out to. So I'm going to say copy the link address. Now that's kind of saved on my clipboard. I'm going to go into my student resource. And it's already hyperlinked in here, but I'm going to show you the process. So what we did as we're editing that content block, and I actually can remove the link and then re-add it in. So I'm going to unlink and then I'm going to relink it. So I have my text that when I want my students to click on this particular text, so I'm going to highlight it and then I'm going to select my link option within my rich text editor. And then it's going to ask me, well, what address do you want to send your students to, or what hyperlink do you want to send your students to? And remember, we already copied that link address, so it's sitting in my clipboard. If I right click again, I paste, and now this is going to be that LTI link to send my students out. I'm going to say OK, and I'm going to say OK. And now we can double check to make sure that it is going to indeed pass me through. And there it goes. Now that same process works for anything that we're going to link our students out to. So any element. So really I could, do the same process for here. We did the same process here for that close read LTI. So that process is the same no matter what we are linking out to.